While I was assisting customers at my boutique, a message arrived stating, "I'm leaving you and relocating to Miami with my 20-year-old girlfriend. I've already drained our joint account." Haha. My hands remained steady as I read it, and my voice was calm as I helped Mrs. Peterson select a scarf. The only indication that my husband of 12 years had terminated our marriage via text was a slight narrowing of my eyes. I waited until Mrs. Peterson departed with her purchase wrapped in our trademark silver paper before I typed my response, "Good luck. I'm Claire, and at 38, I just received the most callous goodbye ever." While Mark likely grinned at his escape and pictured me in tears over his betrayal, I calmly closed my boutique for the day. I had noticed the signs for months: late nights at work that never aligned with his deposits, abrupt changes to his phone passwords, and a new routine of gym visits and buying fresh clothes to feel youthful again. 3 months earlier, I had found a receipt for a dinner for two at an upscale restaurant on a night he claimed to be working late. That same evening, I opened a separate bank account. A week later, when he proposed we combine our funds to simplify matters, I happily transferred my own savings into the new account. The joint account he emptied contained barely enough money to cover 2 months' worth of deposits. The remainder was securely hidden along with detailed records of every odd transaction he had made over the past year. My phone buzzed again. "Don't bother pleading. Melissa and I leave tomorrow. I'll send for my belongings later." Melissa, the new receptionist at his office, was someone I'd met at the company Christmas party. I noticed her laugh was too loud at his jokes and observed how she touched his arm when no one was watching. She was young enough to be his daughter and still fancied herself unique. I did not reply to his text. Instead, I called my lawyer, the one I'd spoken with 2 months earlier when I uncovered strange hotel charges on our credit card. I said, "It's time. He just made his move, the papers are ready." My lawyer replied, "I'll file them first thing tomorrow. Do you want me to have him served in Miami?" I answered, "No. Let him think he's won." Then I received another text from Mark, "I know this must be hard for you. You're not getting any younger. At least you have your little shop to keep you busy." My little shop was the thriving boutique I had built from scratch, a business that earned more than his middle management job. I had kept its profits separate from our joint funds. I smiled, thinking of the certified letters that would soon arrive in Miami. Let him relish his small victory. That evening, I stayed at our house, my house, since I inherited it from my grandmother and maintained it in my name despite Mark's request to be on the deed. I felt confident I had made the right decision. While gathering paperwork for my lawyer, I discovered our wedding album. Mark appeared so different back then. His midlife crisis had reduced him to a shadow of his former self. Now he sported shirts that were too tight, tried too hard to blend in with younger people, and used slang that sounded out of place coming from a 45-year-old. My phone continued buzzing with additional texts from him, each one more insulting than the previous. I had been planning this for months. Melissa understood me in ways no one else did. "You'll be fine. Perhaps you'll find someone closer to your age. My family already agrees we've grown apart. It isn't anyone's fault." I saved every message as evidence. Let him dig his own hole deeper, my lawyer would relish his careless words about emptying our account. One final text caught my eye. "By the way, I used the joint card to book our flights and hotel. Consider it my parting gift." I laughed and then called the credit card company. "I'm Mrs. Harrison speaking. I need to report fraud and cancel my card immediately," I told the agent. They asked, "Can you list the charges?" I replied, 2 first-class tickets to Miami booked today, hotel charges at the Royal Palm, and please remove my husband as an authorized user." I can forward the texts where he admitted using our joint card for his girlfriend's travel. The agent canceled the charges in a polite tone. Mark and Melissa would arrive at the airport tomorrow to find their tickets invalid and their hotel reservation canceled. Soon after, another text came, "Don't worry about the house. I'll let you stay there until you find something smaller." I laughed out loud. Did he truly believe he had any claim on my grandmother's house? Had his pride made him forget whose name was on the deed? Then came another message, "I know the shop means a lot to you. We can arrange a fair payment for your half, my half of the business that I built and grew, while you complained about my long hours and dismissed it as your hobby." I poured a glass of my finest wine, saved for a special moment. Tomorrow, Mark would learn harsh lessons about the law and keeping money separate, but tonight I savored the calm and planned my next steps. The next morning brought a barrage of angry texts from Mark. "What did you do to our credit card? The airline won't honor our tickets, the hotel canceled our reservation. Answer me!" I muted my phone and returned to the boutique. Friday was always our busiest day, and I had a new shipment of designer handbags to unpack. Life continued even when your husband runs off with a receptionist who is young enough to be his daughter. Around noon, his mother called. "Claire, dear, Mark told us everything about how controlling you've been, how you drove him away. He says you're being vindictive now, causing problems with his travel plans." I put her on speaker while arranging a window display. "Did he mention emptying our joint account and charging for tickets for him and his girlfriend on our card?" There was a pause. Then she said, "He said you left him no choice. He claims you've been cold and distant." "Barbara, I have his texts. Would you like me to read one where he boasted about taking our money, or the one where he ridiculed my age?" After another pause, she added, "He did seem cruel." I replied, "I told him that message was inappropriate. I appreciate the call, Barbara, but I think it's best if we end this conversation now. My lawyer has advised minimal contact with Mark and his family during the legal proceedings." "Proceedings?" she asked. "Already. Goodbye, Barbara." Later that day, Mark's sister Amanda was spreading family gossip. Apparently, Mark and Melissa were stuck at a budget motel near the airport, their Miami plans delayed. He attempted to use his personal credit cards, but those were maxed out. My lawyer called with an update. The emergency hearing is scheduled for Monday. With his admission of emptying our joint account and clear evidence of credit card fraud, we are in a strong position to freeze all remaining assets. "Has he been served?" I asked. "Not yet, but he will get the papers at his new motel address." Mark's girlfriend was posting on social media about their adventure all day, even leaving mean comments about me. I smiled, recalling the year's worth of evidence I had collected, suspicious charges, hotel receipts, and texts proving his plan. He had been so focused on his escape that he never believed I would be watching, waiting, and preparing. Then my phone buzzed with another text, "You think you're so smart, but I made copies of all the boutique's financial records. Half that business is mine." I forwarded that message to my lawyer, adding it to my growing file of Mark's missteps. Let him learn the hard way about keeping assets separate and protecting your business. Sometimes the best revenge is simply being prepared. The emergency hearing on Monday was everything I hoped for. Mark appeared wearing his new youthful wardrobe, designer jeans that were too tight and a blazer screaming midlife crisis. Melissa waited outside, clearly displaying her youth under the harsh courthouse lights. My lawyer presented our evidence one by one, Mark's text about emptying our account, his credit card fraud, and his concealed expenses, all quietly collected over many months. "Your Honor," began Mark's lawyer, "my client admits to a few rash decisions, but Mrs. Harrison's actions have been vindictive and," my lawyer interjected, "I would call them smart business moves. My client protected her separate assets and maintained detailed records of every unusual move her husband made." The judge examined us and then reviewed our documents, the property deed to my house, the records for my boutiques, and the company papers solely in my name. The clear separation of business and personal finances was evident, something Mark had always grumbled about. The judge then turned to Mark and said, "You admitted by text that you emptied a joint account and used shared credit cards to pay for a trip with your girlfriend. Do you deny that?" Mark shifted uncomfortably. "I was merely trying to make a clean break by committing financial fraud." The judge raised an eyebrow. "And now you claim rights to property that clearly belongs only to your wife?" My lawyer responded, "Mrs. Harrison always kept her business and personal finances distinct. We have records of every dollar invested and earned." I watched as Mark's face fell. He believed this would be simple: empty our accounts, flee with his girlfriend, and perhaps claim half of my business. He never understood why I insisted on keeping matters separate. He even mocked my diligent record-keeping. The court found overwhelming evidence of his financial wrongdoings. The judge declared, "All shared assets are frozen until the divorce is final. Mr. Harrison must restore any money taken from joint accounts within 24 hours. "But that money is gone," Mark protested. The judge said, "Then you must replace it." He added that using shared credit cards to fund trips with a lover was intolerable. Outside the courthouse, I heard Melissa asking Mark about their Miami plans. His reply was drowned out by the sound of my heels clicking on the marble floor as I returned to the business he had never respected. In the following weeks, Mark made more desperate moves. He attempted to claim that the boutique was his idea, asserting he had invested in its early days and even that he was my business partner. His assertions were promptly disproven by my meticulous records. He was clearly desperate. My lawyer informed me about Mark's many attempts to contest the divorce settlement. Every petition was denied. He even argued that his text about emptying our account was merely a joke. "Haha, makes theft less illegal," he quipped, but the judge did not agree. My boutique's success brought me unexpected acclaim. Local business magazines wanted to feature my story, not as that of a heartbroken wife, but as a savvy businesswoman who safeguarded her interests. Young entrepreneurs sought my advice on keeping business and personal money separate. "The best protection is preparation," I told one young woman who reminded me of Melissa. He would have said the same until he tried to claim half my business in our divorce. Trust your instincts, caution is not paranoia. Mark's mother sometimes called after he did something foolish. He had tried online gambling, hoping for a quick fix for his funds, and even got involved in a pyramid scheme promising fast returns. Each failure dug him deeper into trouble. "I don't know where we went wrong with him," she lamented during one call. "His father and I offered to help him if he would take responsibility, but he still blames everyone else, you, Melissa, his company, even the judge." I listened politely while maintaining my distance. Their family drama was no longer my concern. Ironically, my boutique was flourishing, aided by local gossip about my situation. Women began coming in to show support, often buying more than they had planned. One customer remarked, "I thought he would take everything in the divorce. Men like that never expect us to be smarter." My phone still buzzed with texts from Mark, whose tone swung between anger and manipulation. "You've ruined everything. I never meant to hurt you. You'll regret being so vindictive. Can't we work something out?" I forwarded every message to my lawyer without replying, letting him handle it. Later I learned that Melissa was reconsidering her life with Mark. Sharing her cramped studio apartment with a middle-aged man who couldn't afford his own place was not the romantic adventure she had envisioned. The age gap that once seemed exciting now appeared very different in the light of reality. She even posted about toxic relationships and learning from mistakes. My lawyer updated me that she had changed her relationship status that morning. I almost felt pity for Mark, but then I recalled his haha after emptying our account, his cruel comments about my age, and his belief that I would be helpless without him. Instead of pity, I felt pride in my foresight, in my quiet strength, and in my ability to protect myself while he underestimated me. The final divorce hearing revealed a very different side of Mark than he had imagined. His cocky demeanor was gone, replaced by palpable panic. Melissa was notably absent, having moved on to someone her own age, according to office gossip. Mark appeared in his old clothes, and his designer wardrobe had been returned to help repay the joint account he had emptied. His lawyer looked exhausted, likely from trying to find loopholes in my thorough records. "You've destroyed everything," Mark hissed as we left the courthouse, claiming he was ruined. I replied, "No, Mark, you ruined yourself. I made sure you could not ruin me too." Mark's mother waited outside, ready to drive him to his new home at 45. The irony was unmistakable. The man who mocked my age was now living in his childhood bedroom while I ran a flourishing business. "You planned this all along?" he accused. "No," I said, "I merely paid attention. Unlike you, I understood the value of keeping good records." His mother stepped between us and said, "Enough, Mark. You've humiliated yourself enough already." As they walked away, I heard her remark, honestly, "What were you thinking?" A 20-year-old, emptying bank accounts, sending those awful texts. I watched them vanish into the parking lot, feeling only relief. Mark had assumed his cruel text would end our story, but it merely set my careful plans in motion. My phone buzzed, not with texts from Mark, but with notifications of new orders from my boutique's website. Life was moving on, though not as he had imagined. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, my boutique had expanded to a second location. While Mark struggled to rebuild his life, the little shop he had scoffed at was now thriving. I had hired 3 new employees and even launched an online store attracting nationwide attention. Word of Mark's situation spread through mutual friends. He tried dating apps but found that women his age were uninterested in a man living with his parents. Younger women, having heard of his past, steered clear. Melissa even warned her friends by sharing screenshots of his desperate attempts to win her back. His career suffered too. His company's HR began an investigation into his relationship with a subordinate, and he received a formal reprimand. The promotion he expected went to someone else, and he even attempted to claim age discrimination. Later, his sister Amanda told me that his punishment for dating someone younger was recorded by HR. I was startled to see his sister in my store, but her presence revealed how much Mark had alienated his own family. "We didn't support you at first," she admitted while gliding her fingers over a silk scarf. "He played the victim well, but seeing how he behaved later makes me ashamed we ever believed him." My lawyer continued to update me on Mark's numerous challenges to the divorce settlement. Every petition was rejected. He even argued that his text about emptying our account was merely a joke. "Haha, makes theft less illegal," he quipped, yet the judge disagreed. My boutique's success earned me unexpected praise. Local business magazines sought to feature my story, not as that of a scorned wife, but as a shrewd entrepreneur who safeguarded her assets. Young business owners asked for advice on keeping personal funds separate from business. "The best protection is preparation," I advised one young woman who reminded me of Melissa. He would have said the same until he tried to claim half my business in our divorce. Trust your instincts. Mark's mother occasionally called after he committed another foolish act. He had attempted online gambling, hoping for a rapid fix for his funds, and even became involved in a pyramid scheme promising quick returns. Each failure plunged him deeper into trouble. "I don't know where we went wrong with him," she said during one call. "His father and I offered help if he would take responsibility, but he still blames everyone else, you, Melissa, his company, even the judge." I listened courteously while keeping my distance. Their family drama was no longer my burden. Ironically, my boutique prospered, aided by local gossip regarding my situation. Women began coming in to offer their support, frequently purchasing more than planned. One customer commented, "I assumed he would take everything in the divorce. Men like that never expect us to be smarter." My phone continued buzzing with texts from Mark, his tone oscillating between rage and manipulation. "You've ruined everything. I never meant to hurt you. You'll regret being so vindictive. Can't we work something out?" I forwarded every message to my lawyer without responding, leaving him to handle it. Soon I heard that Melissa was having second thoughts about her life with Mark. Sharing her small studio apartment with a middle-aged man who couldn't afford his own place was not the romantic adventure she had envisioned. The age gap that once seemed enticing now looked entirely different in the glare of reality. She even posted about toxic relationships and learning from mistakes. My lawyer mentioned in an update that she had altered her relationship status that morning. I almost felt sorry for Mark, but then I recalled his haha after draining our account, his bitter remarks about my age, and his assumption that I would be helpless without him. Instead of pity, I felt pride in my foresight, in my quiet strength, and in my ability to protect myself while he underestimated me. The final divorce hearing revealed a very different side of Mark than he had expected. His arrogant demeanor was replaced by unmistakable panic. Melissa was notably absent, having moved on to someone her own age, according to office chatter. Mark appeared in his old attire, and his designer wardrobe had been returned to help reimburse the joint account he had emptied. His lawyer appeared exhausted, likely from searching for loopholes in my comprehensive records. "You've destroyed everything," Mark spat as we exited the courthouse, insisting he was ruined. I countered, "No, Mark, you ruined yourself. I ensured you couldn't ruin me too." Mark's mother waited outside, prepared to drive him to his new home at 45. The irony was unmistakable. The man who derided my age was now living in his childhood bedroom while I managed a successful business. "You planned this all along?" he demanded. "No," I replied, "I merely paid attention. Unlike you, I recognize the value of keeping proper records." His mother interposed and said, "Enough, Mark. You've embarrassed yourself enough already." As they walked away, I heard her add, "Honestly, what were you thinking?" A 20-year-old, emptying bank accounts, sending those dreadful texts. I watched them vanish into the parking lot, feeling only relief. Mark had assumed his cruel text would conclude our story, but it only set my deliberate plans in motion. My phone buzzed, not with texts from Mark, but with notifications of fresh orders from my boutique's website. Life moved on, though not as he had envisaged. 6 months following the divorce's finalization, my boutique had grown to include a second location. While Mark struggled to rebuild his life, the little shop he had scoffed at now thrived. I had recruited 3 new employees and even inaugurated an online store attracting national attention. News of Mark's plight spread among mutual friends. He attempted dating apps but found that women his age were uninterested in a man living with his parents. Younger women, aware of his past, avoided him. Melissa even cautioned her friends by sharing screenshots of his frantic attempts to win her back. His career suffered too. His company's HR launched an investigation into his liaison with a subordinate, and he received an official reprimand. The promotion he anticipated was awarded to someone else, and he even tried alleging age discrimination. Later, his sister Amanda confided that his punishment for dating someone younger was officially recorded by HR. I was surprised to see his sister at my store, yet her presence indicated how much Mark had alienated his own family. "We didn't support you at first," she admitted while trailing her fingers over a silk scarf. "He played the victim well, but seeing how he acted later makes me ashamed we ever believed him." My lawyer continued to keep me informed about Mark's numerous challenges to the divorce settlement. Every petition was denied. He even contended that his text about emptying our account was merely a jest. "Haha, makes theft less illegal," he joked, but the judge disagreed. My boutique's prosperity brought unexpected accolades. Local business magazines wanted to feature my story, not as that of a shattered wife, but as a clever entrepreneur who safeguarded her interests. Young entrepreneurs sought my counsel on maintaining separation between personal and business funds. The best protection is preparation, I advised one young woman who reminded me of Melissa. He would have said the same until he attempted to claim half my business in our divorce. Trust your instincts. Mark's mother occasionally phoned after he committed another foolish act. He had tried his hand at online gambling, hoping for a swift fix for his funds, and even became entangled in a pyramid scheme promising rapid returns. Each failure plunged him further into trouble. "I don't know where we went wrong with him," she lamented during one call. "His father and I offered assistance if he would accept responsibility, yet he continues to blame everyone else, you, Melissa, his company, even the judge." I listened politely while maintaining my distance. Their family drama was no longer my concern. Ironically, my boutique continued to prosper, bolstered by local gossip about my predicament. Women began coming in to express support, frequently buying more than they had planned. One customer remarked, "I assumed he would take everything in the divorce. Men like that never expect us to be smarter." My phone persisted in buzzing with texts from Mark, his tone swinging between fury and manipulation. "You've ruined everything. I never meant to hurt you. You'll regret being so vindictive. Can't we work something out?" I forwarded every message to my lawyer without replying, leaving him to manage it. Later I learned that Melissa was rethinking her life with Mark. Sharing her cramped studio apartment with a middle-aged man who couldn't afford his own place was not the romantic escapade she had imagined. The age gap that once appeared enticing now looked entirely different under reality's scrutiny. She even posted about toxic relationships and learning from missteps. My lawyer mentioned in an update that she had altered her relationship status that very morning. I almost felt sympathy for Mark, but then I recalled his haha after draining our account, his bitter remarks about my age, and his belief that I would be helpless without him. Instead of sympathy, I felt pride in my foresight, in my calm resilience, and in my ability to protect myself while he underestimated me. The final divorce hearing exposed a side of Mark very different from what he had expected. His haughty demeanor had evaporated into clear panic. Melissa was notably absent, having moved on to someone her own age, according to office whispers. Mark appeared in his outdated clothes, and his designer wardrobe had been returned to help reimburse the joint account he had emptied. His lawyer looked utterly drained, likely from searching for loopholes in my impeccable records. "You've destroyed everything," Mark spat as we left the courthouse, insisting he was ruined. I replied, "No, Mark, you ruined yourself. I made certain you couldn't ruin me too." Mark's mother waited outside, ready to drive him to his new home at 45. The irony was striking. The man who mocked my age now resided in his childhood bedroom while I managed a booming business. "You planned this all along?" he accused. "No," I answered, "I simply paid attention. Unlike you, I understood the importance of keeping accurate records." His mother interjected and said, "Enough, Mark. You've embarrassed yourself enough already." As they walked away, I heard her remark, honestly, "What were you thinking?" A 20-year-old, emptying bank accounts, sending those terrible texts, I watched them disappear into the parking lot, feeling only relief. Mark had assumed his cruel text would end our story, but it only set my deliberate plans in motion. My phone buzzed, not with messages from Mark, but with notifications of new orders from my boutique's website. Life went on, though not as he had envisioned. 1 year after the divorce, I hosted a grand opening for my third boutique. The event attracted local media. The story they told was not about my failed marriage, it was about a triumphant businesswoman expanding her brand. Mark's betrayal had become merely a footnote in my success. At the event, Melissa unexpectedly appeared. She looked as youthful as ever, or perhaps I just felt stronger now. Clutching her purse, she softly said, "I owe you an apology. I believed everything he told me, that you were cold and unfeeling, that you didn't support his dreams." Then she added, "I saw him use the same tactics on me when times got difficult." I was busy arranging a display of designer sunglasses and said, "Those were not his dreams, Melissa, they were simply escapes." "There is a difference." She paused and added, "He even tried to move in when you froze our accounts, believing your studio apartment would be temporary. After 2 weeks of him complaining about your closet and suggesting I take out a loan for a bigger place, I finally understood the difference between dreams and escapes." I laughed. "So, he had grand plans but no means to fund them?" "Exactly," she replied. "He hoped his investments, promotion, or cryptocurrency would eventually compensate. But I'm now dating someone my own age. We may face challenges, but we are building something genuine." After she left, my assistant manager asked, "Was that the girlfriend?" I answered, "No, that was just another woman who learned the same lesson I did." I then escorted a young couple around our designer handbags and said, "Let's discuss your idea for expanding our accessories line." My boutique had evolved into more than just a business, it was a symbol of independence, resilience, and the power of foresight. I began hosting small gatherings at the boutique, where local women could share their stories and learn practical tips about managing finances and protecting assets. These meetings evolved into community events where trust and support flourished. It was clear that my success was more than personal, it inspired anyone who had ever been hurt or underestimated. Looking ahead, I planned further expansion. I dreamed of opening more locations, launching new product lines, and even writing a simple guide on keeping business separate from personal life. I wanted to show others that diligent record-keeping, hard work, and resilience could transform even the darkest moments into opportunities. My journey from heartbreak to success reminded me every day that when life takes an unexpected turn, there is always a way to rebuild stronger. I continue to embrace each new day with resolve and gratitude. Every order, every smile from a customer, and every note of thanks from someone I have helped reminds me that my story is far from over. I know there will be further challenges, but now I am ready to confront them with the same courage and strength that carried me through my darkest hours. In this ongoing journey, I celebrate not only my past victories but also the bright future ahead, one built on hard work, wisdom, and the belief that success truly is the best revenge.